Part 74. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 733. Lu Feng had already laid out the tactics, so Zhao Yun immediately went out to order troops. General Kui, as Zhao Yun's deputy general, brought 2,000 archers over, and Dian Wei then received the order and brought another 2,000 cavalry. The Khitan people quietly assembled a team of 10,000 people in total this time. If they only led a few hundred archers, the density of the bows and arrows released would be too small and they would not be able to do any damage. But if there are a full 2,000 archers, the density of their bows and arrows at the same time will be impossible to resist even if they raise their shields. Only with this density can the Khitans be beaten to death with one shot. Dian Wei led the cavalry behind him at a certain distance. The armor on the cavalry would collide with each other, and excessive sound would alert the enemy. If you follow far behind, you can launch a charge when the archers are just released, and then by the time they are ready, they will be unstoppable. After all these tactical arrangements were made, their group set off, and Lu Feng had no intention of going with them. As the commander, he just wanted to wait here for the results. The dragon warriors were serving as loyal guards beside him. Even if Zhao Yun and Dian Wei were released, as long as these 50 dragon warriors were still there, no one in the world could touch him. On the official road leading to the light, the Khitan army was marching swaggeringly, but no one dared to spread this news back to the imperial city. It can be seen how timid these local officials are. Let alone go to the front line to fight, even when they see these people, they will only blow their tails, turn around and run away. How can they make the Song dynasty powerful? Already, Zhao Yun, who had been ambushing here early, raised his hand to direct the archers behind him, asking them to string their bows and prepare to shoot at any time. The 10,000 people gradually entered the range, and Zhao Yun watched helplessly between them. The distance was less than 50 yards before he suddenly put his hand down and gave orders. Shoot the arrow. With a roar, the archers all heard the order and fired in unison. Get ready again. Swish, brush, brush. The arrow rain with a very high density is like a black mass flying down in people's eyes. It is very terrifying and presses on people's hearts. They cannot get rid of it no matter what. The Khitan people panicked and their legs became weak. At that time, Zhao Yun had once again ordered the archers to draw their bows and set arrows again. Shoot the arrow. The first wave of arrow rain has just been released, and the second wave of arrow rain follows closely. With such a terrifying density, even a top master like Xiao Feng dare not say that he can be safe and sound, let alone these people who have no internal strength. Khitan soldiers. Amidst the screams, the Khitan soldiers were pierced by arrows in the heart, penetrated the brain, or were directly shot into hedgehogs. No one could survive in such a density. The entire army immediately fell into a panic. And the so-called general also lost his life in the rain of arrows early, and even the last person who could command was dead. The Khitan army was already defeated. And under such circumstances, the attack was not over yet. Dian Wei yelled he had already rushed up with the cavalry behind him. The iron hoofs trampled the lives of these people, and all of them turned into flesh and dust under the feet of the horses. The battlefield was filled with miserable howls. Of course, the scream only lasted for a second, and the war horse did not let him go. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 734. Zhao Yun and Dian Wei looked at the bloody scene on the battlefield indifferently without feeling any discomfort. They carefully inspected the battlefield where the war had ended and confirmed that there was no one alive before they stood together again. And the Song soldiers they brought were vomiting violently in the forest at the moment. It was the first time for many of them to go to the battlefield. Where had they ever seen such a tragic scene? All people have long ceased to be human and have been trampled into pulp. There are also many human limbs, eyeballs, ears, etc., and small organs that have not been completely trampled on the battlefield. But for a person who has never experienced a battlefield, it is not surprising that he would feel weak after just one look at him, fall to the ground immediately, and vomit all over others. But for Dian Wei and Zhao Yun, who have experienced hundreds of battles, this is nothing. They can still calmly check whether there are any survivors left, and then completely extinguish the last bit of hope. It's just killing the enemy. What's so disgusting about you? Don't forget that these people never felt uncomfortable at all when they killed your friends, relatives, and family members. Their consciences have already been eaten by dogs. Think about it. Thinking of your abused family members. Dian Wei was very puzzled by these people. Have they forgotten how humiliated their families were? If it weren't for these kitten people, how come they didn't even have a complete family? He and Zhao Yun didn't either. No matter what, let these Song soldiers think about what cruelty is. They quickly took these people back to the military camp and came to the camp to report the good news to Lu Feng. It is normal for people who have never been on the battlefield to vomit. Don't worry too much. Just let them train obediently in the military camp for a while. Only then will they be able to obey your commands and kill people without hesitation on the battlefield. Is the most important. Lu Feng is very open-minded about this matter. After all, people still have normal physiological reactions. It has nothing to do with whether they are willing to kill people or not. As long as this army obeys the command, it will not have any impact on the enemy when it goes to the battlefield. There is no problem with hesitation when killing people. And obviously, whether it is when the archers are releasing arrows or when the cavalry is charging, they do not hesitate to kill these kittens, and this is enough. And today this time they made a big gain. The complete victory soon made Lu Feng's name resounding throughout the world. Whether it was the kittens, Zixia, Jin, or Liao, they had all received new news, that is, about Lu Feng's great victory. Even many people in the Song dynasty believe that Lu Feng may become the last hope of the Song dynasty people and can lead the Song dynasty to a moment when the people are prosperous and the country is strong. Many of them have almost forgotten that the Song dynasty has not achieved this for many years. Such a victory. Song Zhezong had no useful generals in the entire dynasty. Facing the enemy's attack, all the emperor could do was to compensate. This compensation had already stimulated the poor people of the Song dynasty. Now Lu Feng can lead thousands. Everyone killed the Khitan army of 10,000 people, which was the most shocking thing for them, and the most encouraging thing for the entire Song dynasty. They saw the fact that the Han people were not weak. Even the leaders of various countries far away in other places, they also glanced at Lu Feng Ajiao, and they all noticed a hint of the terrifying atmosphere before the storm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 735. In the Xixia dynasty, General Jirdan rushed directly to the main hall before notifying everyone, shocking everyone. Xia Chongzong and Li Qianshun were furious and said bluntly, "Why is General Jirdan so panicked? How unbecoming is it for him to rush into the main hall without even informing him? Returning to your Majesty, the situation is urgent and I hope your Majesty will forgive me. This matter is related to the fate of our Xixia dynasty. If your Majesty wants to punish me, please listen to me first." Li Qianshun frowned slightly and responded, "Tell me, let me see what happened that naturally made General Jirdan so flustered." Battle reports came from the front. After the battle between the Song dynasty and the Khitan, the Song dynasty won a complete victory. The next target is likely to be our Xixia or Daliao. When Li Qianshun heard this, he suddenly felt something was wrong and asked quickly, "How is this possible? The Song dynasty was afraid of war and would pay and cede territory every time something happened. How could they defeat the Khitans?" The Song dynasty found a brave general named Lu Feng from nowhere. The soldiers of the Song dynasty suddenly became particularly brave under his command, and he also had two strong generals. As long as something happened to them, there would be no chance of losing. Lu Feng. I have never heard of this person's name before, but since it can make Jirdan and Zhang Jun so flustered, it seems that the other party must be quite powerful. When talking about this, Li Qianshun looked at other ministers and asked, "Do you have anything to say about this matter?" The surrounding ministers looked at each other, and no one dared to speak. After all, this incident happened so suddenly. Everyone had never thought that such a powerful general would appear in the Song dynasty, so no one was prepared at all. See, no one spoke, and Li Qianshun could only sigh helplessly. This matter is indeed serious. It is normal for everyone to not think about it for a while. I will give everyone one night and we will discuss this matter during morning exercises tomorrow. After that, Li Ganshun left the hall. But before leaving, he asked General Jirdan to follow him. In the emperor's palace, General Jirdan stood in the center, and his face didn't look very good. "General Jirdan, what do you think of the generals of the Song dynasty?" "Your Majesty, I think we should form an alliance with Daliao this time." The Song dynasty had successfully defeated the Khitans with just that one general, and it was a complete victory. Its strength was really unfathomable. If we don't Euro trademark T gather powerful forces, we will most likely not be a match for the other party. Is this general named Lu Feng really that powerful? Li Qianshun frowned. He has never seen Jirdan and Zhang Kun so scared. You know, Jirdan is the general of Xixia. He is very powerful and is the most powerful male general in the history of Xixia. He has become so scared, which really makes people wonder who this Lu Feng is. What your Majesty doesn't know is that Lu Feng has two generals under his command. Just the two of them are too much for the Khitans to handle, let alone Lu Feng himself. Moreover, according to reports from soldiers at the front, so far, Lu Feng has not taken action at all when attacking the Khitans, and all of them are his men. I didn't Euro trademark T expect there to be such a person. Three Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 736. Li Qianshun was a little shocked. He didn't expect that such a big figure would appear. Since General Jirdan has said this, it really needs to be paid attention to. But from Li Qianshun's point of view, if Xixia wants to go to the Daliao alliance, it will be a bit embarrassing. After all, neighboring countries have been at war all the time. Although the Song dynasty is the most prosperous country and every country wants to get some benefits from them, there are also many conflicts between other countries. Just like Xixia and Daliao, they often went to war in the past. Jirdan, are you really sure you want to form an alliance with the Liao kingdom? It should be impossible for them to agree. But this is our only way now. It is impossible for your Majesty not to know how powerful the Khitans are, so even for the people of Xixia, we have to do this. Li Qianshun was stunned for a while, and could only sigh helplessly. In this case, there is no other way. General Jirdan, I will leave this matter to you. You will set off immediately to find an alliance with Daliao. Although there are still many problems between our two countries, you must at least defeat the Song dynasty and protect your own life. Yes, I'll leave now. After saying that, Jirdan disappeared from the main hall. This matter was particularly important and required a high degree of confidentiality, so Li Qianshun did not tell the other ministers about it. The other ministers knew about it. Son, it is very likely to cause unnecessary panic. The Song dynasty suddenly became so strong. Although it is a bit unbelievable, the Khitans have been defeated, so other surrounding countries have to be vigilant. General Dan left Xixia with a few people and prepared to go to Daliao Kingdom. After several days of journey, the group finally arrived at the border of Daliao Kingdom. The Daliao soldiers guarding the border saw something strange and called he defeated the general guarding the city gate. The two armies fought without killing the envoys. Gurdon had the correspondence as evidence, so he successfully passed through the city. The emperor of Liao dynasty, Yeluaguaduk, sent people from Xixia to negotiate. After that, I felt a little surprised for a moment. These two countries have always been antagonistic, and it was really surprising that they would send people over to negotiate for peace and alliance. But since everyone has come over, they must still meet. Knowing that the other party, the one who came over, was General Jirdan, Yeluaguo was even more confused and more vigilant. Jirdan was the other party Euro trademark's general. Could it be that the other party wanted to use the excuse of negotiation to assassinate him? This was also possible. What happened? Anyway, even if they were to meet, there would definitely be many more guards on the street than before. As soon as Gurdon entered the hall, he could already feel the tight security here, and anyone with a discerning eye could see it. This is directed at oneself. Jirdan, are you, Xixia, planning to form an alliance with our Daliao kingdom this time? Yeluaguo asked directly. Your Majesty, the Khitans were defeated by the Song dynasty. I wonder if you have heard about this? A brave general suddenly appeared in the Song dynasty, so in order to deal with the Song dynasty, we Xixia decided to form an alliance with the Liao kingdom to get through this crisis first. You should be talking about Lu Feng. I have heard of this person. Three Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 737. Yeluaguo's men were not vegetarians either. As early as a few days ago, the news that the Khitans were defeated by the Song dynasty had reached his ears. Like Li Qianshan, Yeluaguo was shocked at first, but later calmed down and began to think of ways to deal with it. At this moment, Gurdon appeared in front of him. Lu Feng is indeed a very troublesome person. As long as he is around, the Song dynasty will not be defeated. I agree with the alliance, but do you have any ideas on what to do next? Geldon was a little surprised. He didn't expect the other party to agree so quickly. He had already prepared a long list of words, but he didn't use a word. This is really surprising. After all, Xixia and Daliao are also in a hostile relationship. Could it be that the other party agreed so readily because there was fraud? What I'm thinking of right now is to jointly attack the Song dynasty, attack from two different directions, and catch the opponent by surprise. Maybe we can get some better results. Isn't there some strategy besides this? Lu Feng still has two strong generals under his command. Even if we take them down alone, Lu Feng has no one to deal with him. This is a big problem. I don't a Euro trademark T know what your Majesty a Euro trademark S advice is. Why don't a Euro trademark T you tell me? Yellow. Aguo paused for a while and continued, I think this time it is better to divide the troops into several groups. First send a vanguard unit to find out the actual situation, and then send other units for prevention and control. At the same time, they can also provide support at any time. After all, it is often safer to understand the opponent's situation first. I wonder what General Jirdan thinks. Yes, then we will follow this method. The two sides quickly reached an agreement. Although there have been many disputes before, at this time, everyone's goal has become unanimous, because everyone knows that if they don't do this, all their people will eventually. All the countries around the Song dynasty came up and hoped to eat the cake of the Song dynasty, so in the past few decades, they have been asking for it from the Song dynasty. Knowing that the other side did not dare to fight, they intensified their efforts. It is getting more and more excessive. Now that the Song dynasty has a military general, he will definitely take back all the previous grievances. The meeting between the two sides lasted for a long time. The general sent by the Liao kingdom was Yeluxiu, who is currently the most powerful general in the entire country. Yeluxiu and Jirdan discussed the map for a long time, and finally decided to form an alliance army, with half of the people from each side. Moreover, the Alliance army was divided into several small units, among which the first to be sent was Vanguard unit. The main function of this unit is to inquire about the enemy's military situation. First, determine the situation of the military camp he sent. Then other units will decide whether to attack based on the situation. Just when the two of them were feeling complacent, they did not know their plan. It had already been leaked out a long time ago. The spies installed by Lu Feng had already infiltrated into their ranks. After learning that the two countries were preparing to form an alliance army, they immediately transmitted the information back. The Song army camp was checking the sand table. Lu Feng suddenly received the news that Zixia and Daliao had successfully formed an alliance and were preparing to attack the Song dynasty. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 738. After learning about the other party's situation, Lu Feng immediately took countermeasures. I checked the positions of the two sides on the sand table and determined several routes that the opponent must pass if they wanted to attack the Song dynasty. We tried our best to extend the distance between these routes and get them closer to our favorable positions, and finally decided on 3 roads. General Kui, you immediately assemble 3 advance teams, each with about 30 people, to ambush the 3 places I marked and defeat the opponent. The terrain of the 3 places I chose is relatively advantageous to us, so this time we can only succeed, not fail. Yes, I will take action immediately. General Kui left the tent in the blink of an eye. After gathering the required soldiers, he immediately set off with the army in person. The team would eventually separate at Huya Pass, although he did not know which road the Alliance army would finally appear on. But fortunately the number is not large, and the situations that will occur can only be counted on one's fingers, so judging from the current situation, it can be dealt with. On the battlefield ahead, the smoke of gunpowder is already rising one after another in the formal battle between the two sides. The Alliance army's advance team is very careful, even in a desolate place, trying to maintain speed without making too much noise, just for fear of being discovered. The number of the advance team is not large, and its main purpose is to find out information about the other party. So I am looking for soldiers who can run faster. After passing through this road, you will see Tiger Ya Pass in front of you. Lead a Euro trademark S, take a rest here and cross it in one breath. Later, the general who led the team shouted, and then everyone else sat down and didn't go too far. It was a hot weather at this time, and many people became a little tired from the previous forced march. This is the reason why the generals leading the team took a break from the battle. Everyone had almost finished drinking the water, so they had to find a place to resupply when crossing the road ahead and crossing Huya Pass. In such hot weather, it is very easy to suffer from heat stroke during forced march, so water becomes very important. After resting for half an hour, the whole team was ready to go again. Now everyone's physical strength has recovered slightly, so the marching speed of the whole team has become faster. What they didn't expect was that on the road in front of the country, because the mountains on both sides were relatively high, a lot of rocks suddenly popped up from the mountains on both sides, directly killing many soldiers. This happened too much. Suddenly, many people were smashed to death before they could react, which made the leading general unprepared. Looking carefully, I didn't a Euro trademark T know when there were several more figures on the mountains on both sides. At first glance, it was not me. People from Fang, so everyone knew that they were ambushed. Because this operation was originally very confidential, few people knew about it, so everyone never thought that they would be ambushed, and the round of rocks just fell down. A lot of companions have been lost. Fortunately, there are places to hide on both sides of the rock, otherwise the whole army will really be wiped out because of these rocks. All the remaining people hid on both sides of the rock wall, and waited until after all the stones fell, people began to slowly stretch their heads out to check the situation. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 739. The people who came out to inquire about the news did not see anyone on the mountain. They originally thought that this would be the end, but what they did not expect was that this was just the beginning. Smashing rocks from top to bottom is just the first level, and the real performance comes next. A large group of people appeared out of nowhere and immediately surrounded the few remaining people. After careful calculation, there were about 30 people on the other side. Although the number is not large, in comparison, since many soldiers have been lost before, there are less than 20 people on the Alliance side. In this comparison, the gap between the two sides widens. Moreover, he had been marching for a long time before, and even if he had rested for half an hour before, it was impossible to return to his best condition so quickly. Therefore, during the battle between the two sides, it will definitely end with the entire Alliance army being wiped out. Such news quickly reached Lu Feng's ears, and also reached the Alliance generals. Both parties behaved differently after receiving the same news, with one party feeling happy and the other feeling sad. Song Dynasty Military Camp. General Kui, now that you have successfully taken down the advance troops of the Alliance army, the next step is for you to lead the soldiers to defeat the Alliance army. General, after all, the opponent is an alliance of two countries. Wouldn't it be bad for us to just break in like this? Nothing will happen. Let the assault team and the undercovers who infiltrated the Alliance group cooperate with each other to capture the thief first. As long as their generals are taken down first, the entire Alliance army will be in disarray. Now you only need to lead the troops to attack. I have already arranged the other things, so don't worry. General Kui nodded, and then immediately led the troops to advance. On the Alliance side, the undercover sent by Lu Feng had already grasped all the situation here. When the advance troops are completely wiped out, don't add fuel to the fire here. The successful attempt to confuse the public and make everyone suspicious of each other. Jirdan cursed Yaluaguo, only a few of us know about this action. There must be a traitor on your side who leaked the news. Brother Cai, let the enemy the party ambush us on the only road we must pass in advance. It seems to me that there is a traitor on your side, but now you want to frame us and put the blame on us. How can there be such a cheap thing in this world? When you first came over to take the initiative to form an alliance, I felt a little strange. It turned out that you were waiting for us here. You are talking nonsense. Our initiative to join the alliance was entirely out of good intentions. I did not Euro trademark T expect that Daliao would resort to such despicable and insidious methods. I will never let you go. The brothers we sent there are also dead, and more of our people have died. It should be because we doubt you. The two generals from different countries were quarreling fiercely, and others began to take sides to support the people who originally belonged to their own countries. Originally, the Alliance army itself was an unstable bomb. After this incident, it became even more difficult for them. Unstable factors have become more turbulent. It is indeed difficult for people to trust each other when they encounter such a thing for the first time. If they want to continue to cooperate in the future, it may be even more difficult. There has been a conflict between the two armies before. There had already been suspicions, let alone the current situation. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 740. What the two generals didn't expect was that just when they were quarreling, many soldiers in the military camp had been poisoned to death for no apparent reason. Moreover, the death of these soldiers was miserable, and it seemed that the poison they were poisoned should be very toxic. By the time someone came to report, on average, most of the people inside were dead. At this time, the two generals realized that things were not as simple as they seemed, because among the dead, almost all were soldiers of the Liao Kingdom, and the soldiers of Xixia were basically fine. After Yeluaguo saw this situation, he angrily yelled, "Sure enough, it was you Xixia people who did it. All our soldiers in Daliao are almost dead, and only your soldiers are left intact. What are you going to do? Explain." Jirdan was a little confused. He never expected that such a situation would happen, and he had never ordered his subordinates to do such a thing. If there was really an internal problem within him, then it was very possible. The gap has been mixed in since the beginning. But when faced with Yeluaguo's questioning, Gurdon lost the domineering attitude he had before. "This is not my people's doing, I have never let my people do this. There must be a spy among us, otherwise this would not be possible." Geldon knew very well that this was definitely not done by Yeluaguo's people. They had no reason to sacrifice so many of their soldiers as a ruse. What's more, among the troops sent out before, Yeluaguo's people accounted for the majority. But Jirdan himself did not ask anyone to do this, because he came with a very sincere idea to do the face modeling. Therefore, with so many problems, it can be judged that there must be spies in the army. "Don't talk to me so much. Now that so many of my people have died, if you go and tell me that you are a spy, you are shirking your responsibility too cleanly." No matter what Jirdan said, Yeluaguo didn't believe what he said at all at this time. So many brothers died under his own hands, and there must be an explanation. At this time, Yeluaguo's men suddenly spoke in his ear, and then Yeluaguo decided to go out directly, and forget it with the alliance armies of both sides. "I originally thought that we could use this alliance army to defeat the Song dynasty, but looking at this situation, it is absolutely to no avail." Seeing that the other party was about to leave, Jirdan began to panic. If the alliance army that had finally been established was to disperse like this, no matter which country it was in the future, it would definitely be annexed by the Song dynasty. In order to prevent this when things happen, Yeluaguo must be left behind. "Stop, you can't leave now if you want. If the alliance army disperses like this, it will only become stronger and stronger in the future. Now that we are united, we still have a chance to defeat each other, but if you leave now, then we really have no chance. Do you think we can continue to cooperate now? So many of our people have died, and it's all thanks to you. You have not cooperated with sincerity at all, why should we continue to play with you? I am leaving today, is it possible that you can still keep me?" While speaking, the two generals had already revealed their weapons. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 741. 1 second it was fine, and the next second it was about to start a war. This was really surprising. In fact, for Yeluaguo, he must leave here today. Now most of his people are dead, and there is no evidence to prove that there are spies, so it is very likely that all this was done by Xixia people. If this is really the case, then they will most likely attack him tonight, so they must leave. And even if the spy is found, it proves that the traitor has no connection with Gurdon, so he must leave. The relationship between the two countries is inherently antagonistic. They have fought many wars before, which can be described as incompatible. If it weren't for the alliance this time, neither side would be cooperating here. Even if it's because of the alliance army, you can never trust the other party 100%. Maybe this is just an excuse for the other party to form an alliance, and its purpose is to disintegrate our army in this way. Therefore, there is no advantage in numbers now, and we absolutely cannot continue to stay. One side wants to leave here, but the other side doesn't want the other side to leave. The attitudes of both sides are very tough, and they are both martial arts practitioners. In the event of a conflict, they will inevitably use swords and guns. The two men drew their weapons separately. On such a night, the light of the candles shone brightly, making the sword's light and shadow appear vividly. When the two people were fighting, the other soldiers also started fighting. However, because there was a big gap in injuries between the two sides, it was definitely the people from the Liao kingdom who were suppressed in the end. Seeing that his brothers were suppressed, Yeluiguo was even more angry. Every time he made a move, he aimed at the opponent's life gate and wanted to kill the opponent directly. Jirdan is not an ordinary person, and he dare not say how strong he is, but compared with Yeluiguo, both sides are about the same strength, and it is still unclear who will win and who will lose. It's just that because the two people are fighting, no matter what the final outcome is, the final result will not be good, and they all fall into Lu Feng's scheme. The traitor sent out took the opportunity to kill the Xixia soldiers while the two sides were fighting. Although the number is not very large, it actually gave Daliao a breath of fresh air. And the level of assassination is very high. As long as one takes action, one will definitely be killed. As time went by, gradually, the numbers between the two armies began to become almost the same. By the time Gurdon reacted, it was already too late. Yeluiguo was also confused. Although he had always been very confident in his soldiers, he still wouldn't be able to draw a tie when there was such a huge difference in numbers. Now there are not many people left on both sides, so there is no one who has the advantage. After seeing this situation, Gurdon instantly felt that he had been deceived and cursed directly. I didn't expect that the traitor was actually one of your people. He did not hesitate to spend so much money to use the torture trick. The purpose was to make us relax, but I just happened to be discovered by us, so I can only use this method. At first, Gurdon thought there was a problem on his side, but when he saw that the number of his people was decreasing very quickly, he immediately became suspicious of this. It's the opponent's trick. 3 Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 742. Although the cost of this bitter plan is a bit high, judging from the current situation, the benefits are actually very considerable. Just relying on so many people can reverse the situation. Just imagine, if all these people are left until the end, the consequences are unimaginable. So at that moment, Gurdon decided to kill all the people in Zixiang's group. Although the alliance army will be disintegrated by doing so, they can also think of other ways to deal with the Song dynasty. In this way, the two sides started fighting again, and Jirdan rushed directly to Yeluiguo. I thought I could kill him directly this time, but I never expected that things would not be that simple. During the battle between the two sides, the traitor immediately launched the battle and quietly hid around. When both sides were almost exhausted, a video message came from the front, saying that the Song dynasty's army had arrived, and the other side had brought a lot of people with them. It wouldn't be long before the two armies would face each other directly. After learning such news, both parties immediately stopped. At this time, everyone noticed that in fact, all this was probably a conspiracy of the Song dynasty army. Everyone began to believe that there was a traitor, and everyone always believed that the traitor was actually sent by the Song dynasty army. ETA Euro trademark S just that I didn't Euro trademark T understand the desire to do this until now, and ETA Euro trademark S indeed a bit late. General Kui led a large number of troops to attack here directly. Even though it was already night, he was not afraid at all. Lu Feng has already trained his team members how to fight at night, so he can guarantee that if it is at night, as the attacker, General Kui and the others will definitely win. Everyone, listen to the order and retreat quickly. Whether it was Yeluiguo or Jirdan, they all issued the instructions in unison. Both of them knew that if they continued to spend like this, it would definitely be a fight between the snipe and the clam, and the fishermen would benefit. In any case, even if it is there have been many disputes between the two armies before, but when facing a common enemy, they still have to share the same hatred. But when their troops were preparing to evacuate, they suddenly found that there were inexplicably more people around them. There were a lot of traps. The group of people walking at the forefront fell into the trap pit one after another. There were many spikes and murderous weapons in the trap pit, but no one who fell could escape. And everyone found that, the cache around them has formed a circle around them. Unless they know where these traps are, there is no way to escape. Moreover, these traps are not only one layer, but also extend to several layers, trapping the people around them. Everything is wrapped up, very tightly. Not only are there traps on the ground, but there are also many nets on the surrounding trees. As long as you go there at night, you will be wrapped up by these nets, unless someone helps to wrap up these nets. Cut them all off, otherwise there would be no way to escape. They were suddenly surrounded, which surprised many people. Fortunately, after the first group of people were hit, the people behind them reacted in time and made up for the losses in time. But like this at first, there was no way for everyone to escape from these encirclements. Time waited for no one. If they continued to stay, they would be wiped out by the Song army.